Yeah, I was born in western Pennsylvania in 1937, so I grew up during the World War II. Times were tough. Lived in a very rural section of western Pennsylvania. I think growing up in a rural area as I did was a great advantage for me because there were no electronic games. If you wanted something, my family was not well off, so if you wanted something, you had to improvise it or make it yourself or get something in a junkyard and put it together. That's a wonderful experience, trying to figure out how things work and get your hands into things. So I went to a small school in Marshall Township, Pennsylvania, and I would say there were probably 40 or 50 students altogether, 8 grades in the grammar school. At that time, did not do well in school, and I grew up thinking that I was mentally slow, so I finished the first 2 years of high school, and in the third year I was expelled. And in the end finished up with a PhD in a branch of physics called physical oceanography. During that time, though, I was also working, and I had at the Naval Electronics Laboratory, they had an offshore research tower. It was a mile offshore of Mission Beach in San Diego area. And I had a responsibility for all of these underwater programs on that tower. At any given time, there were hundreds of sensors on the seafloor and buoyed upward on cables from the seafloor. And they were all electronic sensors. And there were some connectors that could be plugged and unplugged underwater at that time, but they were more trouble than they were worth.
Well, I knew of Jim and his innovations before I had ever met him, because I and the rest of the international ocean community had been waiting and looking for something like what he came up with for a long time. Rumors started coming out of the West Coast about this ability to connect and disconnect electrical and communication cables underwater.
I had the idea to create a chamber of oil that had penetrable interfaces with the receptacle contacts down in the oil. So a plug pin with an insulated shaft and conductive tip could penetrate into the oil, be wiped clean, and make the connection in oil. A simple idea, but it really revolutionized work.
Now, Jim's innovations happened in stages. His very first underwater connectors were for electrical conductors only. And that alone was a breakthrough, a disruptive technology, allowing people to do things they'd never done before. But communication cables, the copper was quickly being replaced by fiber optics. So Jim went back down to his lab and developed a way of also plugging and unplugging fiber optic cables at extreme depth. And that really transformed and disrupted the industry altogether.
These connectors then have globally enabled us to work in an environment that heretofore was inaccessible to us. And not only for oil exploration, that's the thing that really got funding for it initially. But for undersea surveillance, for harbor, harbor surveillance, things like that.
I don't think the average person or even people immersed in technology have any notion of just how much infrastructure and equipment is deployed on the ocean floor today. I think most people would be astonished.
So one of the things that I'm enthused about is that it allows internet on a deep sea floor. So there's a project called Project Neptune off the coast of Washington, which has a site that can be reached on the internet, and you can see real-time video from the seafloor. Well, I've had reasonably good success in my life as an inventor. And I wanted to give something back. So that's very satisfying. And it's wonderful to see the young people light up when they see a path to possibly be able to do something creative on their own. I mean, that's a wonderful experience when that happens.